we've got 8:35. Hello, everybody. Calibre Home Inspections here, inspecting homes and protecting dreams. We just have a few minutes this morning. We're going to go over any questions anybody has. Love to answer any questions and take care of anybody's problems or questions about the home inspection industry, about your home, about how it works, about how to fix it, or who to call. Um, if you're in a project and you want some advice, then feel free to give me a call and I will give you some guidance. I used to rehab old houses, fix them up, sell them. So looks like Alexis is here. That's good. We can wait a few minutes, I guess, Alexis, to see if anybody shows up.
All right. That sounds good.
I'm just kind of organizing, getting this day about ready to start.
I'm trying to set it up in I have a holder for my phone
Yeah.
and my silicone piece popped out. So it keeps throwing my phone back at me. So I had to like wedge it in there so I could prop my phone up.
Mm.
Oh man.
All right,
But
I
we did
keep
have a
my,
question. Uh-huh.
no, I was just saying I keep my phone on my steering wheel column right where my speedometer is. I look through the steering wheel and I can see my
Oh
map
yeah.
and I can see the screen. They can see me if and it's just really small.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm far away.
I used to do that on mine. I would turn it sideways, but it scratched my screen. I guess
Oh,
because I have a pop socket on the back of mine.
oh,
So I was
yep.
like, I'm not doing that anymore. So
All right. So we're waiting for calls, waiting for people to show up. If anybody shows up, that's great. If not, might be short. So, do you have any questions this week that came up?
yeah, I had a couple. I had one of them was about the polybutylene pipes versus cast iron pipes and why it is such a big thing that polybutylene pipes if they've leaked in the past.
Why is it such a big thing? Wow. Pipes. You want to talk about pipes? All right. Let's hit cast iron. That was probably before 65. Cast iron, that's your all your main drains.
Mm.
Uh, they last about 50 years. So they are probably due for changing. They're very difficult to change just because they're so extremely heavy and they're fed up through walls. And it's good if you're going to strip the house down to the bones, then that's a good time to change those out. Uh,
How will you know
they
when they need to change it? Will they start to leak? We have cast iron pipes in half of the house.
Okay, you have an older house. It's all right.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
it's about a
they
little over
will
100 years old.
they will start to leak. It's the drain lines that are cast iron,
Mm.
and they will leak, and it's just a matter of keeping up on it. I have seen electrical tape on them to stop the leak. I've seen putty, plumber's putty. It's not a pressure leak. It's not like the supply lines.
Mm.
So what happens is they rust and corrode and flake on the inside, so they become abrasive. So that means solids don't want to flush properly. They just kind of get held up and they clog up a lot. And they corrode and they'll rust and they'll chip and flake and they'll actually um, start to leak. So you'll often find that in the crawl space, older homes. And They used cast iron, and I understand they're still using cast iron in the very upscale homes for interior wall drains because they're so strong and thick and heavy that you don't hear it. You don't hear the water flow. So as it flushes on the upper floor, it'll run down instead of sounding like water in your wall, which it is essentially, it's just really quite silent. So I understand on upscale homes that they use the cast iron inside walls, which is a shame because it still only lasts 50 years. Um, it may last longer if it's on a vertical installation, just because water isn't sitting in it. It just runs right by it. So it's hard to tell. Haven't had any of these upscale homes get old enough. They haven't, the houses are just getting bigger and bigger. So we just haven't
Yeah, I
run into
noticed
that.
there's no more starter homes. They're all massive.
Yeah, they're all big. Isn't that just, it's sad. It's really sad. They think the builders, well, I could get into it, but I am just, I'm just floored, baffled, discouraged when all the materials from the COVID lockdown, the prices went sky high. And builders, a lot of builders went out of business, and the prices of anything that they could build actually went up. So the prices went up, and um, then everything got back into production, and pretty much everything is at production. You might have cost of raw materials gone up a little bit with the regular inflation rate, but the houses are almost doubled what they were. They're approaching the double for what, and the prices of the houses just don't come down. But the price of lumber, I noticed, it's almost back to where it was. So there's a lot of fat in new construction. A lot of money being made somewhere. And it's really sad because it's taking the American dream right off the plate for many young people who want to get into it.
Yeah, gone are the days of the $150,000 houses. That used
Yeah,
to be the sweet spot for first time home buyers.
yeah, yeah. And that
Isn't that
was,
crazy?
you get out, you get a job, and you're saving
Mhm.
money, and the American dream is to get in a home, and 150 is almost, you start looking at the numbers, the interest rates get reasonable, which they're reasonable now.
Mhm.
People might think they're high, but they're reasonable. I remember way back when, I'm dating myself. I remember 17 for a mortgage rate. So that just threw everybody out of the loop, except if you wanted to buy a house with cash.
And some people pay more than that for a credit card.
Yeah, and then you have
Yeah.
10,000 on a credit card, 20,000, 30,000 on a credit card, and you've got yourself a big
Hmm.
mortgage payment. So, um, all right, you mentioned polybutylene. You had a question on polybutylene this week also?
Yes, about apparently they tend to leak.
Oh, right. Yeah,
And why is it important to know that? Or why has it, if it has leaked, why is it important to know if it's leaked in the past versus any other pipe?
oh, it's hard to tell if it has. Yes, polybutylene had a problem with material. There is, I've got to actually, before I was rehabbing homes, while I was rehabbing homes, before I became a home inspector, I used to work in plastics. We made little plastics widgets for an automotive industry, and we also extruded plastics to make plastic tubing.
Mhm.
We didn't extrude polybutylene, but we had a number of other plastics. And the polybutylene, the way you make polybutylene is you have a high temperature tolerance and a low temperature tolerance when you extrude it, like making a straw, you just pull it and you can cut it any length you want. And for all the other plastics, ABS, PVC, um, CPVC, you had you have a high temperature tolerance and a low temperature tolerance. But with polybutylene, you have a high temperature tolerance and a low temperature tolerance. So right there is very difficult to make it just right. And the problem is if you don't make it just right, you have hitting, chipping, flaking, cracking, breaking. Polybutylene was the be all end all to plumbing. It was designed to withstand UV rays. It was designed to withstand chemicals in the water, fluoride, and so forth. It was going to be the last thing standing in your house when your house is down from termites. But if it's made outside of tolerances, it'll chip, flat, flake, crack, break, any kind of abrasive. It goes through a foundation wall, and as it goes through there, if it's not installed properly, you get cracking and a little bit of water hammer when you turn on and off a faucet, and it vibrates it and shakes and rubs against the concrete just barely, and you'll get cracking and breaking, and it'll break in your yard from rocks and pebbles. It'll break in your house. It'll if the clamps aren't done right, if the glue isn't done right, yes, it'll break. So it's difficult to install right. It's a good plastic. Well, after the class action lawsuit, it was still approved as an approved material for new construction, but no one would buy it. And houses today that have it have been around a long time. If it has never leaked, it probably won't ever leak. But it's got a bad stigma on it. It did have a class action lawsuit. The pipe was made between 1985 and 1995. So there were two other building materials during that time frame that were bad also. But we'll just stick on polybutylene right now. And if the house was built outside of those years, you probably don't have polybutylene in your house. 1995 is when the class action lawsuit came, and production stopped on it, and the company was trying to flail around to just survive. And it replaced a lot of homes, just replaced the plumbing material. The lawsuit, no, that was a different lawsuit, a different defective material. But the lawsuit is since gone, closed. So I understand there's no more way you can get any money for it. There are companies out there who can come in and in 2 days replace all your polybutylene with PEX or PVC. And they can do it in 2 days. They go through the walls, they take the water through the attic sometimes, then they have to insulate it, of course. They may have to break the wall open to fish a line through.
It's amazing what they can get done in 2 days. Like they can do all the hardwood floors in your house in 2 days.
Yeah.
Or,
oh yeah. They've got drywall crews. Yeah, they got drywall crews and painting crews. They really avoid wallpaper because it's hard to fix and match and patch. So they would probably go through an exterior wall before they go through wallpaper. Unless they get approval, and then, then they won't fix that. But they can pretty much do a house and replace everything in 2, maybe 3 days. the final touch-up paint or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty amazing what they can do. I
Hmm.
always suggest someone have that done before they move in so they don't have to worry about all the guys. There'll be a lot of guys running around the house doing pulling and getting to corners of the house that usually you're never at, and moving insulation out of the way and fishing blinds down. I imagine it's a zoo. I've never seen it done, but I've replaced some plumbing lines before. If you got the right tools and you got the right team, you could do it quickly. So
Yeah,
that's
they know what they're
polybutylene.
doing. I have to YouTube it while they go.
Yeah, yeah, that's polybutylene. It's just got a class, it had a class action lawsuit. It's known by everybody as a defective material. So if the house has it, it's got a stigma on the house.
Mm,
If it hasn't leaked, it probably won't leak. But how do you know it hasn't leaked? Who are you trusting?
yeah,
Who are you listening to?
the person who wants to sell their house.
Yeah, yeah. So so that is one of the defective materials for sure that should and would be disclosed by an owner. They should know it. Sometimes they don't know it, or they say they don't know it. Um, but the home inspector should find it and disclose that. That's one of the few that really should be that, and probably the Zinsco panel, electrical panel, and the Federal Pacific panel are.
Oh, I hear a lot about the, well, not a lot, but I hear Terry talk about he references it every now and then. He's like, you see these, you need to get them replaced.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and yeah, I would always recommend replacing and then refer it out to an electrical contractor,
Yeah.
a qualified contractor, certified. Yeah, probably for an electrical panel, I'd probably get a licensed certified guy to do it. Oftentimes, electrical issues don't really need an electrician. Handyman can do fixtures, light fixtures, switches, receptacles, anything further than that. I'd always recommend that if you're going to work in the panel, they should get an electrical contractor, someone certified, licensed in electric, because it gets scary quickly.
Oh, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Hey, we were talking about water pipes. You may or may not have seen this episode, but I was watching it the other day and it made me think of y'all. It was a Golden Girls episode. Did you ever watch Golden Girls?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
With
my
the
mom did.
plumbing situation where
No.
Rose is like, I know about plumbing, and she's reading out of this book, and they've got their bathroom torn apart. So now when they flush the toilet,
Oof.
the shower runs, and at the end of the episode, they turn their water on in their sink, and then the shower turns on.
Oh, that's funny.
It was hilarious because he's
That's
like,
good.
the more damage you do, the more it's going to be for me to come out if I was just to fixed it before you started all this.
Yeah, yeah,
It was just funny. It just made me think about this question that came up.
yeah, yeah. So we don't have many. We don't see polybutylene very often anymore
Mhm.
because everybody that had it, they stopped installing it in '95. That's a long time ago. So you have to get an older house, and it had to have gone that far without being replaced.
Mhm.
So if it hasn't leaked, people, they just out of sight, out of mind, and they won't do anything about it. But you have to be really careful also. If you buy a house with polybutylene and the buyer knows it's polybutylene, I don't know if they have to disclose that to the insurance company, but a lot of insurance companies will not
Mm,
insure your house for water damage if you have polybutylene.
interesting.
Yeah, it is. And it's just something we'll put in the report automatically. It just goes in there. This little button. We explain polybutylene and it mentions the fact that water damage from pipes won't necessarily be covered. So you gotta research that just to make sure. Now, if you have a natural disaster, then it'll cover it. If you have a tree go through your roof and it's raining, they'll cover it. The mayhem guy.
I love him. He's so funny. They could not have picked a more perfect person to play Mayhem. He reminds me of Animal from the Muppets. That's who he reminds me of.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But I love him. He's
that's funny.
awesome.
That's oh, we've gone over.
Yep.
We've gone over. I get talking. Sorry about that. I thought it was gonna be short.
No worries. It was short.
All right. Well, so if anybody has any questions, please give us a ring anytime, give us a call personally, or you can just pop in on this little Q&A that we have for clients and realtors and anybody else who wants to learn about their house or has a question. So feel free to call. I'm Richard Smith. Alexis is over there. She's on my phones. And we are out there inspecting homes and protecting dreams. See you next time.